Hi, Coach. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. We'll go ahead and jump right in if you're ready. First question will come from Tony Jones.
Hey, Coach. What
Tony.
went into the decision to make Donovan available for Game 2 on Wednesday, and how do you guys expect it to affect you guys on the floor?
Well, I think I addressed the process yesterday, but Donovan always wants to be on the floor. He's competitive, and that's something that he's looking forward to. To the extent the process of assessing and ascertaining that ultimate result is again ongoing, and as you know, and I think everybody's excited that Donovan will be back.
Next up, Eric Walden, Salt Lake Tribune.
Quinn, just with the various reports about Donovan being upset about being held out of Game 1, which you kind of alluded to with him being as competitive as he is, did that require any kind of meeting today, any kind of getting together between Donovan and you and the training staff and or management or anything like that, or was it just he was available for practice and deemed ready to go and everything's kind of settled?
Well, I think after the way we played last night, we always meet, watch film. Guys are in the gym. We're moving forward to what we have to do, and it's something that's whatever adversity a team goes through. In this case, if you want to characterize it as that, I think one of the things our players, Donovan especially, has been able to do throughout the course of the year is to use that to kind of further galvanize and further focus. And that's where our focus is.
Ben Anderson, KSLSports.com.
Quinn, I know sometimes you don't like to talk about the games until you get a chance to go back and look at it. What did you see on your second viewing, and what was different?
Well, I think some of the things that I've mentioned, even, going into the series as being important for us, we didn't execute on the level that we need to. I think on the offensive end, we got stagnant. When the ball stops moving, they become an even better defensive team because of their length. You saw some of the plays that Kyle Anderson made. Really all their guys, their physicality, and that impacted us in our ability to take care of the ball. So again, I think those, especially the live ball turnovers, and we had some plays, some possessions where we didn't turn it over, but we weren't able to get good shots. I think Mike had to take a couple really tough shots at the end of the clock, and although those aren't turnovers, they give your opponent a chance to run and put pressure on us in transition. So the defensive end, again, one of the keys for us has been all year, and it continues to be, and it's something that we really have to focus on, is to defensive rebound. And particularly when Rudy's tied up with Valanciunas in that matchup, we've got to have other guys that are even more determined on the boards. And I thought that's an area we can do better. And then, just general things, whether it's, defending Ja and pick and roll, which I mentioned is not easy. But there's a lot of things that we need to do a better job of, some small breakdowns where we go under when we want to go over on a screen. We're not shifted enough on the weak side, and there's too much room in the paint. So a lot of little things that I think are execution oriented. And then some other things that, are broader reaching, where you don't point to one possession, where it's more of a general thing that I think our whole team has to focus on. So we can't have breakdowns. If, five guys each have one breakdown, that's five breakdowns. And that really starts to impact the game negatively, particularly in a playoff game. I think Memphis too, that they came out really focused. I think the games that they had played and the competitiveness of those two previous games was something that was fresh on their minds. I think we have to raise our level in that sense.
Drew Hill, the Daily Memphian.
Quinn, Memphis has mentioned they kind of like to muck things up, I guess, in terms of, the talk and the physicality of the game. How do you guys sort of stay out of those situations when playing against them so you don't give them any fuel?
Well, I think, you need to use that. And to the extent that those plays create distractions, whether it's a technical foul, there was one quarter at the end of the quarter where we weren't sharp and it cost us, a 3-point play and then it's he. So those types of momentum plays, I think there's a fine line, between being emotional, locked in, just being gritty, and then not being focused. And so in those situations, whatever the case may be, whatever the play may be, I think you have to have more mental focus and put your energy where it can matter. And then more determination during those situations as well.
Andy Larson, Salt Lake Tribune.
Quinn, at this point, who's overseeing Donovan's recovery? Is it the team staff? Is it Donovan's staff? And has that changed over the last month?
Well, I think there's a collaboration in that regard. And, to the extent, Andy, that, I've continued to maintain, as far as the details of all those things go, I'm thinking about coaching the team. And, those things are happening throughout the organization. And again, with, the overarching philosophy that, we want to do the best thing for the player. And, however those things come to, the results come to pass, those are details, I think, that are not things that I'm involved or privy to in many instances. So my focus is the team. And to the degree there's certain things that, you move forward. And that's, I think, where we are right now. It's, if you watch Ted Lasso, Andy, but sometimes, your favorite animal is a goldfish because it has a memory of 10 seconds. And that's where we need to be. We need to be moving forward and thinking about game 2.
All right.
You watch Ted Lasso, Andy?
Of course I have. You know me.
Yeah. Should be required watching for coaches.
All right. We have one last question from Thurl Bailey, Jazz TV.
Hey, Coach. Hey, obviously, you guys aren't as great defensively when Rudy's not in the game, and he got in foul trouble last time. I thought Derek Favors came in and did a stellar job. But how do you address the mid-range game of teams who aren't necessarily great 3-point teams, but even throughout the course of the regular season, you guys maybe struggle a little bit with teams who are very good at that mid-range, making either Rudy or whoever was on the ball, guarding the ball initially. How do you address that as you go through this series in the mid-range?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, Thurl. I think that there's some, just like if, when we, I don't know what we went last night, we didn't make our threes, right? So some of it's a make or miss situation. We had, the top defense in the league. By cleaning the glass, we had the second or third best defense in the league by NBA.com. So we did some things right as far as impacting shot distribution. I think the thing that's important about the mid-range is, we call them warm-up shots. If you're giving up warm-up shots, the percentages on those shots go way up. If they're contested and they're impacted and they're not as deep. For example, Morant got, he got whether it was, there's a fine line between, long twos, and being at the rim, particularly a team that is so good at shooting, floaters. So there's things tactically that, we need to do. And we've gone through that before, but there's most of the games we've had. I choose to not say we're giving up mid-range shots. We're forcing certain shots that we're better at guarding those shots than we are, other shots. So again, they're not things you necessarily want to give up, but to your point, some of it's like, we're not going to stop shooting threes because we miss threes. We're not going to stop. I'd rather have a mid-range shot than Valanciunas dunking the ball. But the aftermath of those, I think giving up, offensive rebounds in those situations because we're not, quite as alert. So I would say that there are some subtle adjustments that we need to make. I don't need to get into the details of that right now, obviously, but it's not something you're unaware of. But I think what you need to do is impact those shots so they're not warm-up shots. And then if, hopefully they don't make as many of them, that's what impacts the game. So you don't want to necessarily give anything up. You want to make everything hard. And then when those shots are created, we want to do a better job of contesting them, making them difficult, making them, take them a little further out, and not allow them as much freedom of movement, in that area on the court. But, part of it, Morant, he can get a lot of places on the floor, and that's 5 guys, and we can't, guard him with one guy. He's too quick. And in Brooks's case, that's his game. He can get to that spot, and that's the shot he wants, and he's making that shot. So we don't want to give him that shot. So some of it depends on personnel, and we don't want to give up Bane's threes. If Bane's shooting a mid-range shot, I think we can look at all the numbers and say that's a preferred shot for us, even if he does make it. So all that stuff, I think, gets more into personnel and understanding what certain players on the floor want to do and are really good at doing. So every game's a little bit different, every opponent, I should say. And, we're aware of how important that shot is for us to defend and contest. But at the same time, we don't want Rudy guarding, Morant out on the top of the key, so there's a give and take there, and we just need to do a better job, I think, defensively in a lot of areas, and that hopefully will impact that. If we go, over on a screen when we should go under, we go under on a screen, we should go over, that's when you end up with those shots being, too easy and warm up shots. And there's a comfort level in taking those shots.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet.
That's all for today. Thank you for your time, Coach.
Thank you.